If you just purchased a Sony a6100 and you want to shoot sports, but you're unsure of what settings to use, well, I'm going to tell you what those are when I come back. Before I talk about settings, if this is your first time visiting, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell. That way you can learn more about sports photography. No time for chit chat today. Let's dive right into the settings that I use when I'm shooting sports, and I'm using the Sony a6100. Hopefully you have your Sony a6100 right in front of you and you're looking at the menu right now. And also I'm going to take it on faith that you have already set up your language, your time, your date, location, and all that good stuff, so we can proceed directly to the sports settings that you're going to want. If you haven't done it already, there's a menu button on the back of your camera. Press that and we'll get started. Our first setting we're going to mess with is the file format. You have JPEG, you have RAW plus JPEG, and you have RAW. Now there's some people say you should only shoot RAW, but I can tell you right now there are plenty of professional sports photographers who shoot JPEG. That's what we're going to set today. Some of these settings I'm going to show you will not be available if you're shooting RAW, so we're going to do JPEG today because some of the entry-level sports photographers don't feel comfortable editing RAW files quite yet. All right, moving on, we have JPEG quality. You have standard, you have fine, and extra fine. We're going to go to extra fine. JPEG size, we're going to go to the biggest we can, which is large. Aspect ratio, we're going to leave it 3:2. A couple other choices, but 3:2 best represents your camera sensor. Long exposure noise reduction off, you do not need that. High ISO noise reduction, leave that at normal. Color space, if you're going to be shooting for newspapers, leave it at sRGB. Otherwise, go to Adobe RGB. Shoot mode, drive mode. We want to change this from single. We want to go to high plus. So there's a low, medium, high, and a high plus. We want to shoot high plus because the high plus gives us that 11 frames per second we sports photographers enjoy so much. Bracket settings, nothing else to worry about there. Recall, nope. Focus mode. All right, we want to change this to autofocus continuous. Next up, focus area. You have a couple to choose from. I would stay away from wide and zone for right now. Just getting started, I would either pick center or flexible spot, and you can move this to, you can see how it kind of moves around. I would do flexible spot, and you can also go from small, large, and medium. I would pick medium. Autofocus and luminary, we want this turned off. This produces a beam out of the front of the camera that kind of help it with focus. Face, eye, auto focus set, we don't worry about that. Autofocus with shutter, we're going to leave this on. Now, if you were going to be shooting back button focus, you would turn this off, but we're not going to do that today. Pre-autofocus, we want this turned off because it kind of messes with your settings sometimes. It will start to focus before you're ready for it to focus, and sometimes it jumps off the focus that you want it to be focused on. Autofocusing, okay, all that stuff looks good. Auto ISO, you can leave this on if you're just getting started in sports photography. I usually take it off and adjust it. I will use auto ISO maybe 1% of the time. Metering mode, take it off of multi. You're not going to want that. You want to go to center or you want to go to spot. Center is a good place to start though. Flash mode, not going to worry about flash mode. White balance, I just leave it on auto because this camera does a really good job of figuring out exactly what the color balance should be. Turn this off immediately, your DRO. I always turn this off because it will mess with your dynamic range and sometimes it will increase unneeded contrast in your photo. Creative style, leave that on standard for now. Eventually you can mess around with those. Same thing with picture effect, just leave that off. Once you get used to your camera and how it works, you can probably change those. Focus assist, don't worry about any of that. Shooting assist, nothing to worry about. Not gonna worry about the movie stuff because we're just taking photos. Go down to release without card. You want to disable this. That way your camera can't take photos unless there is a SD card in the camera. Don't worry about zoom. Grid lines, if that's on, turn this off. Auto review, turn this off immediately as well. Make sure that is off. Otherwise, in between taking a photo, it's going to show you your photo that you just took for 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And by that time, say if you're following a running back in football, he's moved way past where you've been looking and you're going to miss a lot of the plays. Custom keys, don't worry about that. Now, if you were going to start using back button focus, this is where you would come in and set your custom key. Those all look good. This is for wireless and Bluetooth type settings. I usually go down here and make sure the airplane mode is turned off because it will drain your battery a little bit and you don't want to be searching for a Wi-Fi signal when you don't really need it. And you can always turn it back on when you're ready to transfer your photos to your smartphone, your computer, or some other type of network. Same thing here, don't worry about that. That's good, that's all good. Those are good. Nothing to change there. Display quality, we want to change this to high. Now changing this to high, it is going to affect the battery life a little bit, but it gives you a much better display in your EVF. Those are all good, that's good. Nothing to change there. If you need to reformat your card, which you should do before every event, this is where you do it. And if you have to system reset, that's where you do that. You have the camera, you have the settings, so now you're ready to go make some great images. So what are you waiting for? Oh, you have a couple more questions about some settings that I didn't go over? No problem, I can help you with that as well. Just leave those questions in the comment section. So thank you for joining me, everybody. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Like I've mentioned before, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your hectic, busy lives to join me here and learn more about sports photography. So as always, grab your camera, that new Sony a6100 that you have, find an event and get out and shoot.